I didn't even consider a triangle.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the triangle because it's the strongest shape, you know?
I feel like that's come up a bunch of times recently. And
Yeah, structurally, triangles.
Yeah?
They make the world not go round because those are circles. But they make them stand up.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, this is Amrita and Andrew. We're on a podcast journey to find our way through freelance life. If you're thinking about taking a leap off the beaten path in any part of your life, our inexpert advice is don't think twice. If you had told me this time last year, if you had told me you're going to end 2020 in a cottage by the sea in Cape Cod, I would have been like, you are on crack.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are.
Here we are.
So it's kind of weird.
View of the ocean. It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah. A view of the ocean from this window.
From this very window. The sun has set behind the clouds in this cold, windy day.
Yeah.
A couple nights ago, the wind was just like I've
Out
never
of
experienced.
control.
Never. I couldn't sleep. It was so windy.
Yeah. Yeah. It felt like it must feel, well, how I imagine it must feel being at sea.
Like a nor'easter at sea or something.
It's like
the
a
wind
salt
is just
wind coming off the
howling
ocean,
and whistling and
knocking at the windows. Yeah, it's been really like interesting and moody to be here during this time of year.
The off season.
It's all foggy and misty some mornings, and
when the wind's not blowing and I have my windows open at night, I can hear the waves.
That's amazing. Yeah. You can kind of hear them down here too in the downstairs. There's a downstairs and an upstairs.
Yeah,
it's like, what are we, like royalty?
I have learned being back in a 2-story house that it's not for me.
Yeah. Well, so you have seemingly learned a lot of like what's not for you, which is something I wanted to talk about. But let's return to that actually. Okay. So I just want to hear your impressions on Cape Cod. Like, what are your feelings? Have we even talked about like why we're here?
No. I guess we should set it up a little.
A little bit. Okay. So, we wrapped up our time in Detroit. We had no plan. We left Detroit without a plan of where we were going to be. The idea was just to spend another 2 months writing in a different location, like a quiet place to write. And we have like a lovely setup where we're working part-time at a candy store.
Here we are.
I really wanted to say working part-time at a 5 and dime. But it's very romantic, and the setup, like in the sense that it feels like it's the setup for a Hallmark Christmas
holiday movie.
Yeah. Which unfortunately has not yet yielded any fruit. Thinking
God, no. No, there's when they say off season, they mean off season.
It's pretty hard.
There's like no one.
And there's like a surprisingly few number of like handsome heirs to fortunes who are occupying
there's
like empty
surprisingly few number of people who aren't either 20 years old or
100 years
60 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also a pandemic, so it's not like we're,
Well, no, I know, obviously.
Hanging out with people.
Right, of course.
Right. Well, Cape Cod's not much. It's different than I thought it might be.
Yeah, okay, so tell me your
But we can get to that.
No, that's what I wanted to know.
If we've sufficiently set up that we are now in Cape Cod working at a friend's candy store
shop,
3 days a week.
With just a few hours
the loveliest
a week.
People. It looks amazing the way they dip their hands into the chocolate.
Everything's hand dipped, so it's like these big drums filled with like warm chocolate.
Yeah,
dark. And they always have two, and they're just
white.
Churning constantly. It's very beautiful. Actually, it's mesmerizing. So there's like a lot of expertise to that, but we are, temp workers, obviously. So we're boxing things and tying bows.
Together arrangements.
I actually really like it. That part of like, so I'm pretty much exclusively like arranging things in little boxes and putting stickers and ribbons and bows and it's satisfying. So the idea for like in the abstract was just that like, oh, okay, especially considering like the schedule that we had in Detroit where we were like writing
every day for hours, like it was like a work day. We sat down to work every day and like just writing for like 5-6 hours at a time. So the idea being that like that doing something that's like more physical task would be like a nice way to break things up. And I think it really has been, it's been like a nice opportunity to get some deep thinking in like while doing something else in a way that like it's so nice to just not look at a screen for several hours. And I think that gives you a different type of thinking. The time here has looked a lot different than our time in Detroit in terms of like having that sort of very different,
the churn of finishing something, which I think has been like like on a more serious note, I guess, like has was like kind of a mental adjustment for me, but I'm actually really, really enjoying it now that I've settled into that. Like, you know, because obviously sort of the first month of our being here was like taken up. I mean, not the first month, but you know, like a lot of brain space for a couple weeks was taken up with like election anxiety and sort of this like doom scrolling and like really like it took up like a lot more time and mental space than I had anticipated, and it was just really hard to like to think about like creative work. But so that aside, but I feel like once I've kind of just like reset my expectations of like that, you know, we had something that very specific that we wanted to get done while we were in Detroit, and we got it done. So it made a lot of sense to have like the schedule we had, but it's like, oh, like productivity is such a trap sometimes, and there's not really an inherent benefit in churning out stuff, because it's not like, you know, not yet anyway, we're not getting paid per page, we're not getting, you know, like there's not a proportional return on what we're putting in. So it's like when we're starting something new, like we're starting something new right now, it really pays to like give a lot of time and space to figure out what it is we actually want to do, make sure we're really like into the idea, have a really strong sense of what the idea actually is. So it feels like this time has been a lot more kind of like dreamy than I thought it was going to be. It's very like dreamy. It's like I'm just spacing out and like in that sense, I feel like it's been kind of perfect, because isn't a more kind of like dreamy setting to be in, to just kind of like spin out ideas and like, you know, like I said, like we said, we're like right here on the beach, and
we've had a lot of days we've been able to take walks. I mean, Cape Cod is just lousy with nature trails. Really,
beautiful walking trails, and like these incredible like marshy, like sea marsh
landscapes that move from forest to beach to marsh,
like
all in one
hike. Forest,
it's really beautiful.
Cedar swamp, like that was one of my favorites, like really spooky misty swamp. So so it feels like it has been really like kind of a dream-like couple of months here. That's kind of my impression on it. But what were we saying? Oh yeah, you were saying that Cape Cod in general, like general impressions, has not been what you had imagined about like Cape Cod to be. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
I mean, it's not wildly different, but it is different in that it's not as quaint as I might have imagined, as I did imagine. Not that I had an unrealistic expectation that I was going to come to some sort of like otherworldly quaint place. I didn't. And I've traveled enough. What you're
responding to is that it's a little bougier than maybe you.
It's a lot bougier.
Yeah. Well, because it's so much more of a vacation, like it's a tourism driven.
I guess that's what
area.
it is. Maybe it's not even that it's a lot bougier than I thought. It's that I'm coming to it, and I have been to Cape Cod in the summertime, so I do have a little bit of a reference. But I'm coming to a town that I haven't ever been to in Cape Cod. It just feels a little strange. I mean, there are these huge vacation homes that are mostly empty. They're not all empty. I mean, there are people around. So every other home seems to be empty. And never lived in a vacation place, so the energy shifts dramatically.
Yeah. When
there's no one around, and it feels like while we're not very far from downtown, we have to drive there certainly. And being by the ocean is beautiful, and where we're staying is beautiful, and the homes are beautiful. To me, it has a very suburban quality to it. That shocks me a little bit.
Yeah. So more importantly, though, is I think this sort of daily revelations that you've been having about what you're into, about like somehow like being away from New York City. Well, so I guess the biggest thing is just saying that being away from New York City is like, oh, I love New York City. Yeah, it's the best. And never having been those people that are like, New York is the only place. It's kind of like, oh well, it's not the only place, but maybe it's kind of the only place for me.
Yeah.
In my heart.
In the United States.
In the United States.
For sure.
Yeah. So kind of just like being away and being like, oh, the type of rhythm of life that you like, the type of
interaction with the world.
Yeah.
I think is like, it's like New York as an American city is the most dense as we know it. Everyone knows what New York is like. But moving away, getting away from it for a little bit, getting a little air, it's like, wow, the effort that it takes to do everyday things outside of New York has to be more purposeful and different.
Yeah, which is, it's also funny because like there are certain things that I think of as being so much harder in New York.
Absolutely.
But like, so we're in this 2-story cottage, right? And it's not a big house. It has 3 bedrooms in it, but it's not like big. But it feels enormous, and it feels inconveniently enormous.
It's way too big. I don't know why someone needs 2 floors, a floor on top of a floor.
Yeah. Yeah, so
you leave your water glass downstairs, so you have to go get it.
More than once been like, I would be so much more comfortable if I was like wearing socks right now or something. But my socks are upstairs.
Yeah. I
walk up like all 12 of those stairs. It just feels absurd. So, new ideal on homes is not a house.
Apartment living is for me. I've tried to wrap my mind around the like suburban living in that so much that I understand if you're going to be rural outside of a city, you're going to be rural, and I understand that there's a certain space and breath you get out there, and there's a way that you can relate to the earth in a different way, and you probably tend to your farm or homestead or just like having a lot of space. Most of it untended. You don't usually, if you're living in rural space, you not have huge lawns or whatever.
Right.
Some do. And obviously I understand what it's like to be in an urban place, but to be in a suburban place where you are simultaneously having to beat back nature constantly so that you can quote unquote enjoy your yard and space. It's like, and people be like, well, crazy. I enjoy yard work. I enjoy getting out and doing something. And it's like, well, first of all, I don't follow you on that. Like,
and also not to be rude.
I really enjoy getting out. I really enjoy putting on my shoes and walking to a park.
Right.
That has been tended to.
Right. by other people. Okay. So walking to the park, to that point of walking to a park of like shared outdoor space.
Yes.
you had another, like a step further where it was like, in my future dream home now, which is now a dream apartment
yes.
with people all around me,
yes.
very close to me because
yes.
like...
I have very specific criteria for what I want.
Which I think are much more specific now than they ever were.
Yep.
So lay it on me.
Well, what were you going to say about the park?
I was just going to say that like you went a step further and said that you wouldn't even want a balcony in your home, like any like outdoor space in your apartment, because you'd rather have to leave your apartment for certain things, like going to the park, going to socialize, doing all these things that are like, you know, outside of your space, and that your home is for like, what is the purpose of a home? It's not for it to meet every single one of your needs for all different times. It's to, you know,
for me it's not. For me
for you
it is to the point where we were just talking about my curiosity about suburban living. Is, you know, why do I feel so sad and lonely when I'm living in a suburban? Like, my mom has a beautiful home. I would be sad there. My brother, you know, while he lives in a little bit more of a dense neighborhood, still the same thing. And I wouldn't want a balcony in my house because I want to have to draw myself out. I know myself well enough to know that
it's a little bit of a personality thing in that sense.
It is. To draw myself out to be in a public space where I because like seeing people live life makes me much happier.
So what are your specific
I mean,
needs?
if I was to
to
recruit a real estate agent to find me an apartment, okay, if we're gonna get like really specific, it's gonna be like I want an apartment.
It's all on
don't
one floor.
show me a brownstone because I don't want to deal with the basement when it gets wet, and I don't want to deal with the fence when it falls down. So I want an apartment. I want it to be on the second or third floor. Because I do not want to be a slave to the elevator. I might use it sometimes, but I like to, if I forget something, I just want to be able to pop up the stairs.
Right.
I want it to be bright, but I don't want it to be too big. I want the kitchen to be small and in a separate room.
No, none of this open concept.
I don't want open concept. I don't want central air conditioning because I don't like central air conditioning.
See, I'm telling you, your views have gotten so much more specific over the last like month or so.
I know, right?
I feel like
south-facing windows.
Like if you told a real estate agent that, they would just think it was the funniest thing ever, because like it's like so opposite from, I'm sure, what they hear a lot. Like, I want a huge kitchen, big island, open concept, like outdoor space would be great. Lots of amenities.
Small bedrooms are great. I don't think people need big bedrooms. And then close to walking distance from a park.
That's great.
And of course, public transportation.
Yeah. So I'm ready to, at this moment in time.
Yeah.
I feel excited to figure out a way to be back in New York full time. And I'm excited I'm not like rushing to have that happen. Like, we're not going back there, next month, but eventually like figuring out how to make that happen. So, and I wasn't sure, that was going to be the case, but like being away, I'm like, can't wait to go back. Which I think also makes the adventuring away feel more exciting.
Yeah. I and just something else that occurred to me is that I've become more aware of my carbon footprint, the waste I produce. And the reason, I say like, I want a small kitchen, I want like smaller spaces, is because that while it's a necessity in New York to make the most of your space, it also has unintended consequences where it's like you can't have multiple of one thing because you can't fit it. So you have one thing and you make things work. You have like, your storage containers that you use over and over because they fit, and you can't buy new ones because there's nowhere to put the new ones. And
it's
like,
a good and bad thing sometimes, but I understand what you mean.
It can be frustrating. but like, you know, we have to be pretty much everywhere else we're going to be. We need a car. And like, I'm always like, I hate driving. I hate getting into a car to go do something just to come back.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a waste not want not kind of mentality.
Yeah.
So this is a totally different, like a little bit of a different subject, but you were saying that you've been in a good mood the last couple of days.
Yes.
And you have a silly reason for it.
Okay.
I was like, what is the reason?
Okay, so part of me telling the story requires us to reveal what our next step is, which is, I mean, not that it needs to be a surprise.
Let's reveal. Let's pull back the curtain. So we had the same sort of thought process at the end of Detroit, where it was like, where do we go? How long are we going to be there? Is it like a temporary thing? Like, do we sign a lease somewhere? Do we think return to the option, find something like, well, you know, we've kind of taken that off the table by this point, unless it's in New York. And it's so funny because we've been making so many of our decisions based on like what are this like complex matrix of decision making and how much sense it makes and why and what and like, you know, cost and all these things. And of course all those factors still exist, but then to be like, okay, well, actually we're just gonna make a decision based on like what seems fun, exciting.
Like we'll throw out ideas and the next day it's like, oh, that one feels like,
that one feels fun.
That feels fun.
Yeah.
So we did that again, and we landed on we will be in New Orleans in January and February, because it's a city that is lovely and walkable and temperate.
Of which there are many, but it seems like the most exciting. And it was like, you asked me, and this really like got me. It was like, well, where would you want to live but not forever?
Yeah,
like I really want to be there, but I don't want to like move there.
Yeah,
I think. And this totally like would be top of that kind of list.
Yeah. So I'm excited about it, you know,
I'm excited
being
too.
In the wintertime and down there. And so we'll be able to be outside, you know, walking, and there are plenty of parks there and that whole thing.
Right. And presumably we won't be able to do a lot of like, you know, any indoor anything.
Right.
Unless like vaccinations move at a different pace than we could imagine.
Yeah.
But it's a place that we could enjoy the flavor of outdoors, without having to like really, you know, any colder weather city would be sequestered inside.
We'd be stuck inside.
Wouldn't get to really know this.
So, you know, now it's time to investigate New Orleans, read about the history of New Orleans, all that. And so the best place to start that research, that investigation is where I think any one of our age would naturally start, and that's by rewatching the Real World New Orleans.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
No. So
wait, I was like hanging on to this sentence because I was like, where is this gonna go? Like he's listening to like Dixieland jazz. He's listening to like, you know, Preservation Hall brass band. No, I'm
watching Julie the Mormon, Danny the gay guy. I'm sure people remember.
God.
Yeah. So
wait, you've already started this?
Yeah, I'm on episode 5.
Oh my God, I'm dying.
Okay.
So that's put a little spring in your step these last couple days.
So. And I have a few thoughts about this. First of all, it's really put...
I am so delighted right now. I can't even deal.
It's really put me in a really good mood because it's like a little nostalgic kick, right?
What year was that season?
They filmed in January. They started filming in January of 2000. But I didn't realize, you know, because we are who we are in 2020, I was like, they probably filmed this over like 2 months. They actually lived there for 6 months.
Yeah,
because this was a slower time.
Yeah. Well, because they had jobs.
They had jobs.
Right. They gave them like they actually had to like work.
Yeah, they worked at a cable access channel. I mean, Danny also was a bartender at a gay bar. Yeah. But it's so one is the shot of nostalgia. But two, it's an interesting way to look back at reality television before it became like focused on competition. The editing choices, the storytelling choices is all very different. It is much more honest about. I mean, it's fully contrived,
right?
You know, producers and whatnot, but
like any reality show.
Yes, but much more just bald in its execution.
Okay.
In that, first of all, the producers aren't trying to orchestrate the full-on drama that is today. I mean, it is just like, oh, we'd like to see you guys have experience dating people in the city. You know, and like clearly they say that's why they're all like out like trying to meet people to date, you know, so the cameras can follow that, but they're not. Beyond that, it's just sort of like benign dating where they either decide they like the person or they don't. So it's really sort of quaint in that way.
Cape Cod is not as quaint as you expected, but you know what does live up to its quaintness?
Real world New Orleans.
Real world New Orleans.
Also, all the cast members are very normal. It's also interesting to watch something that you watched 20 years ago when you were, you know, 14 years old, let's say 13, 14. And, you know, these were like adults doing like adult things in like a, you know, place. This like exciting place. And then to watch it 20 years later, and like get a lot of enjoyment out of it, but just see it from a different,
and you're like, also these people
angle?
are children.
And to be like, these people are children. There's something about it, and I haven't fully thought through it, but there's something about it. It's like feels therapeutic in a way.
Yeah.
It's like it's like returning to like something that you like you can remember if you remember how you were when you were 13, 14, and you remember like how you saw the world or what you thought you were trying to put the pieces together. And then at like 34 to watch it and be like, "Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This is like wow, I've changed."
Yeah, yeah, and your world
like the show
is
didn't
totally
change.
different. Yeah,
but my perception, the angle that I'm watching this is completely changed.
Delightful. That is really delightful. I'm trying to think of. Well, I first of all love that this is where your research of New Orleans went, because I was fully expecting you, no offense, but I was fully expecting you to lay something actually kind of more boring on me, where you're like, oh, you know, I've really been delving deep into the history of the Louisiana Purchase.
Yeah, right.
The fact that that your explorations have led you to this more recent artifact of New Orleans history is truly a delight.
I encourage people to return to it. It's just like really, it's like wow. And Danny, remember Danny? And then
I do remember Danny, actually.
He was the gay guy who had the military boyfriend, which he had started dating 3 weeks before the show filmed. So
yeah. Oh, 3 weeks?
Yeah. And they had to blur his face, you know, because it was don't ask, don't tell. So I started watching the premiere, and I was like, oh, you know, when they're gonna, you know, what's gonna happen? This is an example of a different era. They do not tease it, but for 3 minutes, and the pilot episode, the first episode, you meet the boyfriend. His face is blurred. He comes and visits. And I was like, that would not happen.
The first episode?
I was like, that would be like episode 6. There'd be 5 teasing episodes before they would let that guy come in the house.
How long is this?
I think it's 20 to 23.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
But over 6 months worth of footage.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It's a lot longer.
But they let his boyfriend visit like the first week he's there, or the first few days. Anyways.
Shockingly different standards for reality TV story construction.
And like the sexism that exists in 2000 is not called out by the cast members to each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there was one scene where this guy who everyone's like, he's so cool. He's like really hot. He's cool. Name's Jamie. He's not that hot, and he's definitely not cool. But everyone in the house are like, he's fine. He's sitting in the hot tub talking to them. He's like, you know, girls, there's only 2 types of women.
No,
and like they let him go on this you know, monologue about the 2 types of women there are in the world, and like he returns to it like again and again. I was like, really? Wow, this is like in 2020 that
And he would definitely not be like,
wouldn't happen.
He wouldn't be portrayed as being the hot guy.
No.
He'd be like, get this douchebag out of our hot tub. Which is great. Because that's like, you know, as much as we're like, oh, like everything is in the shitter, you know?
Yeah.
You're like, progress is possible.
Yeah.
Just go watch some old reality TV. So the question is, what are the essentials that you need in this type of nomadic life that we are living right now?
So say you're hopping from Airbnb or short-term rental to short-term rental.
That's right.
What things do we recommend that you pack with you that enrich your life beyond belief?
Right. And then we're not just talking about essentials, not talking about socks and underwear.
No.
Like what are those things for you?
So I gave this a little bit of thought, and this is what I have.
Okay.
First, and I know you agree with me on this because we've had this direct experience, you need a good speaker.
A good speaker.
So you actually need two. You need one portable, battery-powered, rechargeable Bluetooth speaker. Okay.
That will be your satellite thing for when you go places.
Picnic in the park, you're on the beach, you're wherever you are. You need one speaker that is good. So we have a Google Home Max, so it's bigger.
Actually shockingly very, very good sound quality.
It's a smart speaker, which is really nice too, because the smart speaker settings travel with you, and I have some particular things that are set in there. So as soon as you connect it to Wi-Fi, you can give it the same commands that you would have at home.
Yeah, and the sound quality is really good, and the importance, more so than the smart aspect of it, is that it has a really good low end.
Yes.
On the speaker, because you can turn the low end up all the way and then turn the treble down, and then you can have the volume down lower.
So this is a pro tip. If you're able to mess with the levels on your stereo and you find that's hard to, like, either you are hard of hearing, it's hard to hear people in conversation at home, just turn your bass all the way up, turn your treble all the way down, and then you can turn your volume down.
And you have the impression of having music.
You'll still enjoy your music, but the frequency is going to not hit your ear the same place that the human voice will. So you'll...
Yeah.
Anyway.
So we have the speaker has great low end.
Yeah.
This has been, I think, for me, like the number one convenience.
Yeah. Because you can't, every Airbnb will have a television and they'll have internet and whatnot, but they're not going to have necessarily a stereo system. So you need to, I guess if you don't like music, then just ignore that tip. My third item.
Who are you?
My third item that we've learned.
Third?
Yeah, so 2 speakers.
Oh, 2 speakers. Yeah.
So
okay.
1 / 2.
Yeah, 1A.
The next item is a knife, which we did have to purchase in Detroit.
I was going to say that. Yeah. Like a sharp, good
kitchen knife.
Now, this does seem like...
Kitchen knife, not a pocket knife. We're not like, this isn't wilderness. We're not Bear Grylls or anything. What?
So that you can whittle yourself.
I don't know.
No, it's worth clarifying. No, we are not survivalists. This is a very urban to suburban at most list. Yes, a sharp kitchen knife so that you do not slice yourself trying to...
For all the reasons you need a sharp knife.
No, it's just so satisfying. And like, I didn't really... I'm such a moron in the kitchen that I didn't really realize how much this would be a valuable addition to our life.
Yeah, because again, Airbnbs don't typically have the best cookware. Sometimes you get lucky.
And most things you can muddle by,
yes,
like not having the right size pot or pan
right,
or like utensil, but like you can't really get by without having a really good
knife.
Yeah,
so take a knife, and then if we're still in the kitchen, there are 2 things that you should always travel with. You do not want to be caught out in the rain.
Wine opener.
I would add that to the list. That's not what I was going to say. I was going to say a bag of coffee you need to travel with all the time, because there's just...
Morning one, you don't know what you're going to be met
right,
with.
and you can end up in places that don't have stores that are open when you get in at night, and don't have stores that are open when you want to get up in the morning.
Yeah.
Also, always travel...
I would say tea and coffee, but coffee is...
No, not tea.
We have our own tea.
Yeah, well, we do, but we're Yeah, but that's extra.
Yeah, it's because you're a coffee person.
Tea would be easier to travel with because you throw a few bags in your backpack. Yeah.
Anyhow, coffee.
A jar of peanut butter because you really don't want to get caught out with a blood sugar problem.
Oh my God, this is you really did put some thought into this. Yeah. Okay. All right. We actually did travel here with a jar of almond butter.
So yeah, almond butter or peanut butter, and all natural, so you don't have to put it in the refrigerator. So you can just travel in your car, and then a bathrobe.
Bathrobe. Well, I was.
The thing is, you need to make these places aren't plush generally.
Well, to that point, what you left off was that we brought with us some throw blankets. Some like really, really, really fluffy, like microfiber throw blankets. And that has been, so for me, the speaker is number one and then the blankets are number two.
Yeah.
And it's been the number of times that I've just settled in on the couch, gotten cozy under this blanket and been like, thank God, thank you to past us, future, like present me, thanks past us for taking care of us. And like we ordered one in Detroit.
Yeah.
And then brought one from my parents, and it's just like been the greatest.
Just necessary. Because
there
weren't throw blankets in Detroit. There aren't throw blankets here in Cape Cod.
Yeah, it's like it's a little bit. It's an extra. It's not a necessity in a rental house, so you don't typically have them around.
Yeah.
But it adds to that sort of the plush. Like what are the little things that are portable?
Yeah.
That can make you feel like you're living a more luxurious life.
Yeah. I have two more bonus items. One is a candle, a scented candle. So if you have a favorite, bring it with you, definitely. That also works if you're just business traveling at a hotel.
Oh, I love that.
It's really nice.
That's a really nice idea. It's a really nice idea.
It's a light one, and you don't feel like
if I ever travel for business again, which I hope I will.
And then my last one is something that's particular to me, probably. Portable lighting solutions, i.e. lamps of some sort. So I really, overhead light, you end up at these places with like fluorescent lights.
I don't know what even the word is that I'm grasping for, like ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I love like a good lighting solution, and you are somebody who's just very conscious about it, and I feel like I'm not that conscious about it until a better solution is presented, and then I'm like, how did I live my life in this
lighting fully transforms the space,
like just recently you scavenged some lamps from someplace and set them up around this downstairs, and I just feel so much better. I feel like my quality of life is improved. Like right now, like look at us.
Yeah.
Look at the soft glow.
Right.
This is everything.
Right.
Like we could be just sitting under the harsh overhead lighting of this
kitchen table. Yeah, it
like
really
we were interrogating each other.
It really changes things.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to be is traveling around where you feel like, there are so many things changing and you have to adjust to so many foreign things, and that you're sitting in like a prison cell, like about to be interrogated or something.
Right. Little pieces that are home creating in a temporary place.
So if you can create a mood, and the easiest way to create mood is a candle and some lighting and a throw blanket.
And your audio. It's really very sensual. This is a very sensual list.
And throw on a bathrobe.
I love this. This is good life hacks.
I guess what we're trying to establish is what extra things do you bring to an Airbnb that are easy to pack, that you can bring with you, that create a homier feeling.
I love that. I think that's great.
You bring your music, you bring your soft fuzzy things, blankets and robes, you bring your smells.
And you bring your lighting looks.
You bring your lights.
And a knife.
And a knife. Because you might be somewhere dangerous. And there might be someone in the closet. Check under the beds.
Oh, God.
We have a basement, which I'm really scared to go into at night.
I'm not scared.
Really?
I'm not. I just feel like you keep needling me about it, and then that makes me feel weird about it. Yes.
If you're not scared to be down there, why are you paying
Because
me?
I don't know. I don't know. I have no answer for you. Okay, you know what? Fine. I'm fucking scared of the basement, apparently.
Well, that's all I need to hear.
Yeah. I just don't understand what the self-sabotage is that I have around things that are good for me and then like not doing them. Like I know the things that I need to do to like keep my sanity and my health and my wellness and all these things, and then I don't know, there's some sort of little like little troll in my brain.
Is it a troll or it's just life? I mean, you fall off eating health. It's good to know that you have the tools to get back where you were.
Yeah, same with like exercising my body and my brain.
I know we both started back in sort of a routine.
Yeah, I've been trying to stick to it and really trying to. I just hate being disciplined, I think. But it's so good for you.
You know what? I'm like, I hate working out. Mm-hmm. I don't hate physical activity, but I do hate working out.
I hate working out.
And I guess someone would say, well, you just need to find the right thing. And it's like, well, I've tried a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And I think fundamentally, I know that I'm working out. So then I immediately can't wait for it to be over. I guess I started this whole line of thought because I'm curious about what people are thinking about when they're working out. People who are like, don't mind it or even enjoy it. Like what's going through their head? I've asked runners, what's going through your head? And she said, oh, you're just
let it
running.
All go.
You're just out there just running. Mm-hmm. I was like, but what is... But what's actually going through? Oh, you're just like, I never got a good answer. So basically, if there's anyone out there listening who enjoys working out and can answer the question what they're thinking about.
Yeah, but you know what? If the answer is that because you get such a euphoric high.
I don't want to hear
and
it.
A surge of serotonin and dopamine, you can keep that shit to yourself.
Yeah.
Because that ain't happening.
No, that's a
real.
lie perpetrated
by the fitness
industry. Anyway.
Yes, no, I have a very shitty attitude, and I know that that's my problem. But it's like, how do you fix a shitty attitude? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, how do you
what am
solve
I supposed
a problem
to do?
like Maria?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to turn my frown upside down. Like,
I think you are. I think that's.
I know, but like, how do you do that? Like, literally, how do you do that? So maybe that's the answer that we're looking for. Not just if you have a good time working out, but if you are able to put on a happy face, let us know. So it was like, how do you explain TRL to like a 14-year-old today? So there was this show. If you wanted to hear a song, you had to.
So get this. You can't hear a song unless someone somewhere else decides to play it live.
Whether it's on the radio or whether it's on TV. You can't just have an on-demand song. Suppose you want to watch this music video. You can't just go online and look it up on YouTube. You call a number using a landline telephone, or you request a video that they will then maybe play tomorrow.
Yes.
Tomorrow, the next day. If enough other people also called the number and asked to see the same video.
Did you ever call the number?
No, never. So if enough people called the number, then the next day you would get to see the thing that you requested.
Yes.
Not the same day. Not instantaneously.
No.
24 hours later. Yeah. Like not being able to see something. Oh, what was the other thing? We were trying to be like, how would you explain MTV Spring Break to a teenager?
So this is the one. This is the one. This is the one. Mm-hmm. Because this is just of an era, because we looked it up and it actually was a period of not very many years that they did a few years. Spring Break.
Yeah. But somehow it feels so like seminal.
It is for this micro generation of people. Yeah. It's
of elder millennials.
I have so many memories of it.
Yeah, like it felt very formative, but but when you look it up, it actually was only like they only did it like for a few years.
Yeah.
So yes, so what did they do? They went.
It's like, okay, so get this, like this network chooses a town to have like spring break, a beach town, and then they build a stage, and then a bunch of like 20-year-old college people like get really wasted and sloppy, and then all of your favorite artists show up on the beach and they perform, but there's like wet t-shirt contests, and then all the VJs, oh, you don't know what a VJ is, like asterisk, we'll get to that later.
Stick a pin in that.
Like, but when do you tune in? It's like, yeah, when do you tune in? Like, was it on all day?
I think it was basically on all day.
I think it was on all day.
That was part of the experience, is that it was just happening in real time somewhere.
Things that are happening with the kids these days, the TikToking and the way they talk to each other on social media, the way what social media is, and like, you know, when you're young, you're like, you're young, so you're like doing the cool like young new thing, but when you get like a little bit older, you're like, this is just like this is like fundamentally the same thing that we did, just put in a different right. And then when you get old, you're convinced that like the kids aren't all right and have like completely like, and
that they're not just playing out the same dramas that you did,
right?
Like,
and it's like, no, they're playing out the same dramas on TikTok that we played out, you know. Over
I like
text
how we're talking
message.
about ourselves as the old people. I'm talking about like
that the people before that played out, you know, on their phone, you know, landlines, talking to each other on their bed. You know, it's like same. It's
shit.
Really no different.
Yeah. This is like a little bit of a pivot, but like we were talking about how like older people these days are the biggest danger to society.
Yes.
Because of their credulousness when it comes to online. I know this is like a bit of a subject change, but I do think this is a really interesting thing that does relate in terms of how savvy younger people are. And it's like, if you always grew up with the internet, like, yeah, there's some like doom saying around like that, and it's like, yeah, the social interaction is fundamentally changed, and like whatever, and kids these days will never know, like, whatever. But like, if you grow up with the internet, you have a better understanding of like what's real, what's not real, like what, you know, how to be more kind of critical, I think, of what you see. And because like older generation, people older than us, like our parents' generation,
baby boomers, essentially,
are so like much more new to it in the scope of their lives, that like, it's like they're the dangerous ones, because they'd have no concept of how to like vet. I
mean, your mom will ask you like fact check, you know, like she doesn't go around spreading anything.
She doesn't. But, and she's very smart, but it's like, you know, she's on these like sort of group chat threads with like other, like her friends or whatever, or like, you know, or just like a wider group of people that are more in the boomer age range. And then she'll like send me something and be like, can this be real? And I'm like, no, it's 100% not real. Like, this is like either clearly photoshopped or like just Google this person, and you can like within literally 10 seconds verify that they never said that thing, or that they never appeared on that whatever, or that it's like spliced together or whatever. It's just the credulousness is like so mind-blowing. It's like, no, of course it can't be real. Of course it can't be real. And the fact that you're even asking that should be your first indication that like, obviously this isn't real, if I have to even ask that question.
Yeah. And, you know, they confirm whatever they want to find. I mean, that's the scary thing about the internet, as we know. You know, type it in and some asshole will have said it. It's like cheese is the reason COVID exists, you know, whatever. Right. And as far as it comes to the internet, the kids are all right. Now, where I think the kids are not all right, referring to the real world, New Orleans again.
Yes, bring it back, baby. Bring it back.
What you will notice is that, and I'm a person who doesn't want to say this, but I'm going to say it. These 20-year-olds seem far more mature than 20-year-olds today.
Okay.
I would like other people to watch it.
Confirm or deny.
And confirm or deny. Come back to me with some hot takes.
In what way?
How are they more mature? Well, first of all, the situations that they're in, natural situations, not the ones that they've been put in situations, but it's like pseudo awkward situations, just first time doing something, or going on a first date, or having a slightly uncomfortable conversation with someone face to face. They just,
Well, but I think that's just, I really do think that social skills are something that is eroded for, not just for 20-year-olds.
It might be social skills, like really, what I'm saying when I say
for
maturity.
People in their 30s, like our age group too, that like life. There's so many situations, sorry not to rail about this, but like, there's so many situations now where we've removed the necessity to talk to people in person, and we're like, oh, this is so awesome.
Yeah.
I don't have to like go talk to this clerk to find out where the thing is in Home Depot, because there's actually an app now where I could take a picture of this glass right here, and then it will show me on the, like, it will like scan the picture. It will show me where they have it in Home Depot, which location, where in the store.
You can pre-order it for pickup. You can pre-order
it and then just like go there and you know, even if you even go there. But the point is, it's like, oh my God, this is so great. We've reduced all the human interaction, so I never have to have an awkward conversation where someone either doesn't understand me or someone disagrees with me, or like I just have to like, you know, whatever. So I agree with you.
So you'll notice, I mean, not that I'm pushing the real world on everyone, but
yeah, you are. Mm-hmm.
But to realize that these people are, I think Julie, the Mormon, is 20 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were all, some of them weren't even drinking age on that show.
Yeah. 20 years old. Mm-hmm. And she's, you know, more mature than
many
than 20-year-old I would expect a 20-year-old to be today.
Yeah. I would like for you to give us a little bit of a taste of your accent work, because that is something you've put a lot of work into.
Pedophile. Wait, how does it go? Pedophile.
Okay, so that's basically the only word that Andrew has perfected. So yeah, we were watching a show, and for some reason that was the one word that stood out to Andrew as being said in a very...
They also say yogurt as yogurt.
Yogurt. Sort of. Yeah, I can't do it.
I mean, in truth, you and I are terrible at accents.
Terrible. So we'll come back to you when we have a few more words in the arsenal for our British accents.
I'm also trying to learn Cape Cod.
Cutting your eye teeth on a few
words.
You
know, I'm just throwing it out there. You know, we live near Yarmouth. What else do I say?
Harwich.
Lobster.
It's a storm, Nom.
It's a storm, Nom, in Yarmouth. But see, I just pretend I'm JFK.
Oh, I was going to say Cliff from Cheers.
And I said it's a storm, Nom, Yarmouth.
I like how it gets more Kennedy-esque.
And like loud and like nasal.
With my friend, we got from the library, the Stowe Monroe Falls Public Library, and I don't know, or maybe my friend had a library card there. I don't know. So we went there
because she had not returned. She was banned from the Kent Library.
Well, that's very much where this story is going. So it's not even really a story, but mainly that we rented out a like CD set.
Yep.
To listen to in the car as we were driving around, because suburban teens of our age group. So they had
you're trying to tackle them all.
Scottish and Welsh and Irish and, different, like, I guess, like in England, there's all sorts of different
Cockney
and northern
Manchester.
Yeah, exactly. Liverpool, like whatever. And like, I think our plan was just that we were going to like go into like a store in Ohio and just like blow people away with our Irish accent work. We did never return the CD. And I've never been back to the Stowe Public Library since.
That's unfortunate, because there's somebody who to this day is on a waiting list for a CD set.
To learn their dialect work for We write, produce, and curate as VJ and Stevens, and you can subscribe to Don't Think Twice anywhere you listen to podcasts. Normally, we'd be working on a whole slate of live events in New York City and across North America, but 2020. We're currently living nomadically, writing and pitching our scripted works for television. You can learn more about us at vjandstevens.com. That's VIJAY and Stevens with a PH. We're at VJ and Stevens on Instagram, and our assistant Susan is still learning how to use Twitter at Memos from Susan.